Music. Music has a chance to soften a rock or to bend a twisted oak. From the beginning of time, there is no culture without music. But what is the use of music? Music is known to be a good communicator. But what does it communicate? It does not change our perceptions of the outside world. Neither does it add any meaning to a language. Then what does it do? A great musician has said, I will play music for peace. Another great musician says, I will play my music so beautifully, delicately, and intensely that I want it to counter terror and violence. How beautiful and how powerful. Namaskar, friends. I'm Anita Kulkarni, delighted to welcome you to Forum Renu Foundation, where we worship and celebrate arts. Today, we commence Season 2 of our web series, The Architecture of Arts. Many of you know that we accomplished our Season 1 of 12 episodes earlier this year, where we explored various Indian heritage arts for their beautiful building blocks and unseen facets in conversation with great artists. The response from all of you, our esteemed audience, has been uplifting and very encouraging. Today, we open Season 2 with an artist who is a musician par excellence, an artist of extraordinary gifts, including his lineage and his excellence of musical pursuit. An artist who is a recipient of the highest music award of India, the Tansen Puraskar for the year 2020. Friends, Santoor exponent Padma Shree Pandit Satish Vyas. Hello, Satish ji. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the show. It is such a pleasure to have you with us.
Namaste and greetings to everyone. I consider myself to be very privileged and honored to be part of this program, which is undertaken by Renu Foundation. And particularly, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Anita Kulkarni for taking such a great effort in, I would say, propagating different forms of art from India. So, thank you very much, Anita. Oh, for a moment, when I got a call from MP government, I was speechless and felt so humbled that the award, which is considered to be one of the topmost award for classical music, which has been given to my father as well as my guru, as well as lot of legendary artists. You can name them, right from Pandit Ravi Shankar, Pandit Vibhushan, and to get this award in 2020, I would say cannot be expressed in words, but I can only say that I dedicate this award to my late father Pandit Satish Vyas, my mother late Indira Vyas, and of course my revered guru Padma Vibhushan Pandit ShivKumar Sharma, the living legend. And I felt the sense of responsibility because getting award is one thing, but to shoulder a responsibility when people recognize you, I think is just the thought of it really sends shivers in my body, I can say.
Satish ji, an artist is always riding a wave of highs and lows. Tell us about a high or a high point early on in your career when you were just starting out as a young, talented Santoor player.
With modesty, I can narrate one incident. There have been quite a few, but one incident which has etched in my mind, which will remain lifelong, is when one concert, which was organized by Institute of Chartered Accountants in Rang Bhavan, which is a very, very fabulous auditorium, which of course is shut down now for many reasons, which has a 3,000 sitting capacity. Then it was a whole night concert with first item was mine, then followed by Pandit Jasraj ji, Sangeet Matan Pandit Jasraj ji. Then after that was Ustad Amjad Ali Khan Sahab with Ustad Zakir Hussain. And the last, which would have come in the wee hours or morning time of maybe 4 o'clock or so for Srimati Kishori Amonkar ji, one of the great legends. Shafat Ahmed was to accompany Ustad Shafat Ahmed Khan. So he arrived in the morning flight and in fact, I called him one day earlier. So he came one day earlier and he was staying in my house. So we sat in the night and we, practiced. We said, let us plan this concert because it is a huge responsibility that in the midst of such great legends, I have to perform. And so we went to Rang Bhavan and it was the scene was such a great thing that, the auditorium, obviously with these big names, like Zakir Bhai, Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, Jasraj ji, Kishori Bhai, I'm sure the crowd was overcrowding, it was bursting at its seams actually. And then I came from the green room, curtain was there, we took our position. And I told the sound man that we will do sound check once the curtain opens. We'll take 5 minutes, but we'll have to do once because sound differs. I would say some blessings, as she said, were working because we literally did our sound check in 2 to 3 minutes, which is very unusual. But the sound was so great. And, in Bombay, most of the people who provide audio systems, they know us very well and they have handled our concerts many times. So they know generally what placement of mics and all that. So everything was said and just hit, like when I hit the sa with my first, I said, yeah, sound. Shafat also on the stage, the sound is just superb. And then I closed my eyes and did my prayers and I said, now, because I remember my guru as well as my father and many musicians said, when you go on stage, don't think of anything else. I started with a beautiful rag Kausi Kannada. And Anita, what can I say? I played close to exactly 2 hours, 1 hour 55 minutes, one rag completely, very big exposition of the rag, Alap, Jod, Jhala, and then compositions. And Shafat was just awesome. His moral support, apart from his outstanding accompaniment, was one of the great inspiration on the stage. And in front, my father was there and a lot of other people, musicians. And in India, in Indian music, when we get feedback from the audience, and those first 15 minutes are so crucial that if you see people nodding, then you know that you are on the right track. And that day it happened. So I don't want to say more, but the concert, whatever it is, I think it turned out to be a great event. And I was literally in the green room, was surrounded by so many people after the concert, though I was unwinding. Then I started thinking, I think this concert was not played by me. There you start believing the Almighty God or some super power. I think I consider my father, my guru, somebody, they both of them going into my body in different prop, and they played the concert, and that is why it turned out to be like that. Not my credit, it is their credit, I think. But whatever it is, and I further to that, one of the most important thing which I remember, which is I normally don't share this, it is very personal. What happened after me was Pandit Jasrajji. So when he arrived, I was already on the stage performing. So he sat in the wing. So after a couple of minutes, because Shafat was sitting, as you know, on the right side is always the tabla player. So he saw Pandit Jasrajji coming and video. So, generally we have eye contact, and so just nobody knew. Shafat just indicated. So I just looked very slightly to the left, and he was sitting there on a chair listening to me. So I bowed down while performing. So next day, I remember around 11 or 12 o'clock, I got a call from Panditji, Jasrajji, and he said one sentence which really touched my heart, and I was about to cry. He said, Satish Babu, kya Kausi Kannada bajaya? Agar मैं 20-25 मिनट तक सुना, then I went inside. लेकिन अगर मैं पूरा सुनता तो हो सकता है मैं भी आके Kausi Kannada, that I don't want to say because it will look very modest, but his compliments were great. So that was one of the high points in my career. After that, for many years, I did not play Kausi Kannada in my fields, in concerts, because I always had this fear, will I be able to perform the same way what I performed in Rang Bhavan?
Indian classical music is artistic and spiritual. Amid the vocal music and the familiar sitar, somewhere around mid-1950s, a beautiful new sound of a string instrument chimed in on the classical music horizon, grabbing ears and hearts of people like never before. The instrument was Santoor, known as Shatatantri Veena, and the artist was a fair, 6-foot-tall, handsome man from the beautiful Jammu Kashmir in the Indian north. His name was ShivKumar Sharma. The veena was heard mainly in the Kashmir Valley folk music and in the Sufiana singing style until early 20th century, until Pandit Umadatta Sharma, ShivKumar's father and the renowned Jammu vocalist of the Banaras Gharana, noticed the instrument for its musical potential. Over the years, ShivKumar Sharma fine-tuned the instrument for its distinguished place in the Indian rag music. He improvised it for its own language and idiom, the features that enchant the world today. His instrument projected the sound to 3 full octaves with a special technique sustaining the notes for sound continuity. From gentle tunes to complex alapchari to dramatic crescendos in classical music, Santoor goes on to create pure and blissful joy. Pandit ShivKumar Sharma is singularly credited for bringing Santoor in the classical Indian music mainstream. The path was not easy. Around 1960, young ShivKumar Sharma had landed in Mumbai to take a blind dive into an unknown future. Since then, for the last 6 decades, We have watched Padma Vibhushan Pandit ShivKumar Sharma's musical magnetism on stage via his mesmerizing Santoor concerts. Knowing how classical music does not always lure big crowds, ShivKumarji's contribution in creating millions of classical music listeners is unmatched. And then, around mid 1970s, another great Santoor artist went into the mold when young Satish Vyas, the son of vocal music maestro late Pandit C.R. Vyas, met ShivKumar Sharma with a wish to become a Santoor player. Some 10 years after he first heard the maestro, cherishing the dream to play Santoor one day. The virtuous student was instantly accepted by the Guru, and there began a beautiful journey, a journey we will visit today in conversation with Santoor maestro Padma Shree Pandit Satish Vyas. Father's training prepared him well, immensely enriching his years with his Guru. Seeking beauty in the light of his Guru, for over 30 years now, Pandit Satish Vyas has been enthralling world audiences with his music. Quiet, contemplative Vyas, with eyes focused on his inner vision, nimble fingers exploring the delicate strings, wins audiences by his display of the Gaiki, the vocal tradition his father taught him, and the Laikari Tantrakari, the rhythm and string designs he learned from his Guru, both shining as a reflection of his own. Carrying the tradition, Pandit Vyas offers lecture demonstrations and teaches a number of disciples in India and the US. His published albums include reputed labels like UK-based Navras Records, Music Today, Times Music, BMG Crescendo, and Sony Music. The Government of India honoured Pandit Vyas with a prestigious Padma Shri in 2003. He received the Kumar Gandharva Rashtriya Samman in Mumbai, Swarasagar Sangeet Puraskar in Pune, and he is the recipient of the highest national award for Hindustani classical music, the Tansen Samman of 2020, given by the Government of Madhya Pradesh, India. said somewhere that Santoor confuses me and consoles me. As an artist myself, I found the sentence very fascinating. Can you explain what it means to you?
I said that sentence with a view that, when you are young and for me, I can say that when I started performing, when you are much younger, you are free of stress, free of tension. Whether people understand or not, you just go on playing. But as you grow and you start understanding the depth of music, then you start realizing, this is not so easy. So I remember in my father's 60th birthday, Pula Deshpande was the chief guest and he made one sentence. It will have effect if I say it in Marathi. So first let me say in Marathi, then I'll maybe translate in English.
Sure.
He said ki गायक गायला बसला की तो काय करणार, तो षड्ज लावणार, गंधार लावणार आणि त्याला असं वाटत असतं की मला तो म्हणा बागेश्री गायचा चालू केला, त्याला असं वाटतं गायकाला किंवा वादकाला की मला बागेश्री आलाय, पण तो बागेश्री तो म्हणेपर्यंत तो 10 मैल दूर गेलेला असतो. But now as I grow, then I felt, there are so many intricacies which you need to study. So that is why I felt, because small things, how you hit the string, which note you have to hold, each rag. So that is another thing, that each rag needs to be practiced separately on this rag. For example, a Shree kind of a rag, that the important phrase is re, 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 pa. So you go from Rishabh to Pancham. Now in Santoor, there is Gandhar and Madhyam in between. So how do you go to Pancham? So all this is a deep study. Wow. So that is why I said that it confuses. But at the same time, when I take Santoor in my lap, and just once I tune it properly, and if I hit, that gives me a solace. That sound really is intoxicating.
We come to your musical background and lineage. Tell us about your father, late Pandit C.R. Vyas, a distinguished vocalist and a musician. What was he like a father, as a musician, as a guru? How were you trained? I also want you to address, if possible, the importance of Sanskriti and Sanskar, the culture in where a child is growing up, and what are the sanskars, or what is the conditioning and the culturing doing to that child? And how did you turn to Santoor or instrumental playing?
As everybody knows, I was born in a family of musicians, one of the great legendary artists, my father, late Pandit C.R. Vyas. I was not interested in music, but when around 1966 or so, when I was about 13, 14-year-old, I accidentally went with my father to a concert, because those days there were no festivals. They were all small biter concerts where 150 to 250 people would be there. So there is a school in Sion called Vallabh Sangeet Vidyalaya, and my father was going for a concert, and it so happened it was the summer vacation, and my brothers and my mother, they had gone to our hometown, but I don't know for what reason I remained with my father. So instead of staying alone, he said, "You come along with me." So it was all accidental, and I went with him. And I still remember when the curtain opened, I saw a very young, extremely handsome person with a very obscure instrument in his lap. Because I had heard, though I was not interested in music, sitar, sarod used to fall in our ears, but this was different instrument. And then announcement was done that the artist sitting obviously was Pandit ShivKumar Sharma and Santoor. And I tell you, the 2 hours that music with the whole persona on the stage, I was just completely bowled, I was swayed by the whole atmosphere and the music and the Santoor sound and all that. So after coming back home, I told my father that I want to learn this instrument. So that was the beginning of my हिंदी में जैसे बोलते हैं कि मेरी रूदारी उसमें म्यूजिक में उस वक्त. So I started taking interest in classical music at that age, which was around 13, 14. around 65, 66, 1965, 66. So my father, of course, obviously in those days, typical middle class families, music, dance were not pursued as a full-time profession. Though my father was a musician, he himself said that at least you become a graduate and then I will take you to Pandit ShivKumar Sharma ji. So I said, in those days, unlike today, children argue with their mother, father, but we never. We said, okay, whatever you say. But he further added that in the meantime, you start learning vocal music. Whenever you have time, you will sit and take basic, because that vocal training will become useful to play any instrument, or it will be, the bass will become good. And today when I think back, I think it was a great advice, because that whatever little training of vocal music was very important. And another thing, what I would say, we grew in an atmosphere where, what we call in Indian tradition, sanskar, sanskruti. First of all, my father, like my ancestors, they were like saintly people. Many Maharashtrians will relate it to you. My grandfather was a kirtankar, pravachankar. My great-grandfather was saint actually. And my father, of course, pursued music, but he was also, his way of life was like a saintly person. So all that, my mother and everybody. So we were given good grooming in our childhood. So we were, I think, protected from various sides. At the same time, my father, he was one of our house was a big, I would say, point of musicians of that era. Some of the big names like Pandit Ram Marathe, Manik Vermaji, Jitendra Abhisheki, Prabhudev Sardar, Yashwant Bhagat, so many of them. Then Dr. K.G. Ginde, S.C.R. Bhatt, and you name, and they used to come to our house. So we used to live in a very small apartment, and so we used to study in our balcony, where inside all these people were sitting. So those, I think, the indirect sanskar of music, because music was falling into our ears, which has gone into our subconscious mind. And today when we play particular rag, I realize that some things come out without even I think about it in my mind. So these are all sanskars, I would say. So like my father advised, I think I took very serious interest in studies. So I finished my master's in science. And the day I finished my last paper, I told my father, now you have to take me to Shivji. So by then 9 years had passed. Because from when I first heard the concert of Shivji, I was in 8th standard. And then by the time I finished another, because those days 11th was a matriculation. So 3-4 years that, and then later on, 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6 years. So it almost turned out to be 9-10 years. So sometime in 75, 76, my father took me to Shivji, and it was his grace that he told my father, son of an artist like you, I will be very delighted to take him as my student. I consider myself very fortunate. People ask me, I said my achievement in this life, I would attribute it to that I am being the son of such a great artist, Padma Bhushan Pandit Satish Vyas, and student of Padma Vibhushan Pandit ShivKumar Sharma. And not only they were great musicians, or even my Guruji, he's a great musician, living legend, but at the same time, they are saintly figures. I find so many similarities between both of them. Very calm, quiet, poised, and so that also. So I always think my learning with these legends has gone beyond music. Not that I can claim that I have imbibed all the facets of theirs, but at least try to do whatever best, because as the era changes, you need to change.
Satish ji, your reviewer training under the Santoor Maestro, Pandit ShivKumar Sharma. Tell us about the exclusive Guru Shishya time you shared with him. What was in your personality that you saw and imbibed and celebrated through your music. What was his teaching like? And what was your time like or day like?
And then I started learning Santoor from Shivji, and that was another a big part of my life. I became sort of an inseparable part of the family itself. Today also I am like, because of my guru and his wife, they have showered such love and affection that every moment I cherish throughout my life till my last breath. I used to go every day. Not that every day I used to learn, but one thing I must say that companionship, like सहवास जो बोलते हैं, in Hindi we say सहवास, that to be in company of Guru, I think is a great blessing, because you learn a lot of things indirectly. And with me, in a day at least 2 to 4 times we used to talk to each other on the phone. My bhabhi, we call bhabhi, she's my Guruji's wife, and Guruji also used to call, and so it was those days for almost like 20-25 years. That was the scenario, and regular lessons learning was being done on Sunday, and my Guruji never looked at watch or like that. Once we sat, it will go on for 4 hours, 6 hours, and I have never come from whenever. Every day I used to have dinner at his house almost every day, and I consider myself blessed. Can you imagine? For at least 10 years, every day night, I have had dinner with my guru and another great legendary artist, Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia ji, because everybody knows Shiv Hari is they are like brothers. And those days, when I remember even today, I become very emotional that I must have done some punya last janam, that I got this time to spend with such great legendary artists of the stature of Pandit ShivKumar Sharma, my guru, as well as Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia ji. And my Guruji's wife used to really love me, maybe more than her sons.
How amazing and how blessed you are. Thank you for sharing these absolutely extraordinary details of your time and years with them. And you touched upon, Satish ji, you touched upon a very beautiful fact that your learning with your guru has gone beyond music, had gone beyond music. Yeah. And you were indeed blessed, because you were actually living with a guru at home, who was your father. And then you spent these long, good, beautiful 25 years with your guru and his family and another artist, Hariprasad ji. So I'm coming a little bit, tilting this conversation to the actual music now, if I may. So of course you were very well oriented to the vocal gaiki, the vistar, the khayas, the alaps, the presentation of the bandish, the vilambit, the druta bandish, the change in the tempos, the alapchari, the tan work, the sargam, everything, right? So when you started reproducing music or producing music on Santoor, how different was it? Or, can you throw some light on some of the musical nuances? Like maybe even some examples, because I know our audience will love to see it and hear it from you.
Yeah. Santoor, basically, classical music, one of the most important factor is the rag bhav, the emotional content. How do you bring that? Now, having some background of Mughal music definitely helps. But for Santoor, as I will just demonstrate it, how phrases have to be played to create the mood of the rag.
The birth of string instruments was in a bow and arrow, the stretched string making a distinctive sound each time an arrow was released. The mentions of Veena were found in the Indian Vedic texts. It is only in the last 6 centuries that the birth of many musical instruments is seen, like a piano, a psaltery, a harpsichord, a hammered dulcimer, violin and cello in the West, for example, and the types of Veena in India, all enriching our lives with their divine sound. The Greco-Roman word dulcimer, meaning sweet song, derives from the Latin dulcis, meaning sweet, and Greek melos, meaning song. A few string instruments are played by plucking the strings with fingers or a plectrum, a few by hitting the strings with a light wooden hammer, and others by rubbing the strings with a bow. When the strings are set in vibrations, they resonate in the body of the instrument, typically a hollow space. This beautifully amplifies the sound, sending out the sound waves we call music. Strings were plucked in a psaltery, and in a dulcimer they were struck, the two actions creating two distinctly different tone qualities. It may be interesting to know that a santoor, a dulcimer, is a predecessor of a piano because it is based on the same principle of a mallet striking the metal strings. In a piano, under the soundboard, metal strings are stretched under great tension. Pressing on the piano's keyboard makes the padded hammer strike the strings, creating the sound we so love. The trapezoidal instrument, known as a hammered dulcimer, was popular throughout Europe in Middle Ages. Many of its variations are the Iranian santoor, Romanian cymbalum, Greek santuri, Chinese yanquin, and Indian santoor. In India, the earlier folk santoor was taken in the classical mainstream only in the recent decades. Santoor is made of walnut wood. The top soundboard holds the wooden bridges on which are stretched the strings from edge to edge. Metal pins on the side allow tuning. Mallets or hammers, made of hardwood, lightweight, are held between index and middle fingers. The hammers are stiff in the West, whereas in Asia they can be flexible. The head of the hammer is kept bare to create a sharp struck sound, or it can be covered with leather or fabric to create a softer sound. The strings are most delicate and sensitive to light strokes and glides. The resonance is checked when the artist places the instrument on his lap. If it is on a stand, the resonance is much higher. The strokes, played closer or away from the bridges, struck by one hand and muffled by the other, are the techniques that create different sounds and tones. Earlier santoor had 25 bridges, each with 4 strings, making for a total of 100 strings, thus the name Shatatantri, Shata meaning 100. The modern santoor played by Pandit ShivKumar Sharma and his disciples has 91 strings. Being a student of music myself, I am very curious to know how a rag evolves from an instrument like santoor as opposed to vocal music. How are the nuances played on the instrument, like a meend or a khatka, murki, alap? What are the nuances specific to santoor? And are there some specific rags that blossom more beautifully on santoor?
Whether it is vocalist or instrument, there are certain rags which really come out very beautifully on particular instrument. Similarly, depending on a vocalist's voice, the vocalist chooses the rag which suits his voice. So, for example, I can take example of late Pandit Krishna Rao Shankar Pandit, the great doyen of Gwalior Gharana, and Abdul Karim Khan Sahab of Kirana Gharana. Now the Gayaki, one is Gwalior, one is Kirana. So they both were great, but they chose to sing ragas which suited their voice and their gharana. So similarly in santoor, of course there are many ragas, but I can go time-wise. In the morning time, beautifully Bairagi, Ahir Bhairav, Undi Bhairav, Nat Bhairav, then Todi, Gujri Todi, Bhupal Todi, then Shuddha Sarang, then Bimpalas, then evening lot of rags are there. Purya Dhanasri. We may not play Purvi, but Purya Dhanasri we play. Purya Dhanasri is a derivation from Purvi That actually. But Purya Dhanasri suits more on this instrument for whatever reasons. Then of course Yaman, Bhupali, Kedar, these ragas are also very beautiful. They come out very openly. And in the night, of course, Malkaus, Chandrakaus, Kausikanra. And there are a lot of Carnatic ragas, like I just mentioned, and I played Jansam Mohini. There are rags like Kirwani, Charukeshi. These are all beautiful Carnatic melodies which suit Santoor absolutely. In fact, people everywhere demand when Santoor performance is there, they would like to hear Kirwani or Charukeshi. We enjoy. I also personally enjoy these two rags very much. So in Rag Bhupali, it's a pentatonic scale. So we begin like Sadha Sa Re Dha Sa 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 Ga Re Ga Pa Pa Ga Re Ga Sa Re Dha Dha Sa Re. It's a very important thing is it is more of Avrohi rag, like Re Dha Sa Dha Sa Sa Re Ga. So see, we come from Gandha to Rishabh. Similarly, Sa Ga Re Ga Re Pa Ga Dha Pa Sa Dha Pa Ga Re Ga Sa Re Dha Dha Sa.
Satish ji, I also read somewhere in one of your interviews that one of the artists, I think his name was Anindo Chatterjee, the Tabalji, the tabla artist who has accompanied you in very many concerts, that the chemistry or the understanding between the you two is now so good that you don't even need any practice or rehearsal. You both can walk into the stage and then start playing and creating that magic. So how do you view the role of the accompanying artist? How does it add a value addition to your performance?
Yeah, this is very, very wonderful question, I must say. This, of course, Pandit Anindo Chatterjee is one of the great tabla masters of our country. Similarly, Pandit Kumar Bose is another artist who has played with me many concerts. And we hardly rehearse, where we go straight, meet at the auditorium and go on the stage. The reason is because their experience is such, and they also know music very well. Any tabla player who understands music and not only the mechanical play of tabla, his accompaniment will be different. So their contribution is absolutely invaluable because their support, and it has to be in a very limited way. With me regularly, of course, Pandit Mukund Rajdev plays with me many concerts, and we just meet at the auditorium and straight away go on the stage and perform, because he has understood my, maybe whatever it is, he knows exactly how to play, how much to play. It is very important for a tabla player to understand his role is a supporting role, and he has to enhance the overall musical experience.
His versatility manifests in another form in his collaborations with Western musicians. In 1997, invited to perform in the Mostra Mozart Festival by the European Mozart Foundation in Venice, Italy, he was the only non Western instrumentalist. Vyas has played with the jazz and world music fusion group in the production Silk in collaboration with Shankar Mahadevan, percussion maestro Shivamani, composer and keyboard artist Louis Banks, and Carl Peters on bass guitar at a Barbican Centre concert in London. He was a featured artist at the famous Edinburgh Festival in Scotland, in Stockholm Music Festival in Sweden, and at the European Parliament. You have a very unique and, according to me, extraordinary aspect to your career. Your collaborations, multiple collaborations with the Western musicians in all sorts of prestigious European festivals. Can you tell us what are your inspirations and how do you view the product, or does it just evolve? I mean, what is it that you all tackle together? What is it that you are seeking energy wise, musical energy wise?
My insistence is that unless you do proper rehearsals, one should not do fusion music. Of course, the pioneer for fusion music obviously was Pandit Ravi Shankarji, because he went to Western world in his very young age and he met some of the fascinating musicians with whom he has done collaborations, and later on many musicians like Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia ji, Zakir Hussain, and many other musicians have also done fusion music with great. The first time I did a thematic album that was for Times Music, and then I had different instruments and some Western instruments, and I just composed few compositions and did that album, which is one of the best album for Times Music. But once I was in 2007, I was playing a program in Boston. After my concert, one musician came and introduced himself, Mark Rossi, who is a professor at Berklee College of Music in Boston. He's an American person, and he said, I've just fallen in love with your instrument, and I would like to meet you tomorrow. So we worked on the album for almost a year and a half. That album is released by Sony Music, and the title of the album is Resonance. So one of the best album for fusion music which has happened. But fusion music is good because it helps to popularize music, because our music, Indian classical music, through fusion, if you can attract new audience, I think it will be a great achievement, I would say. On this note, can I request you to play a very beautiful rag called Charukeshi?
Satish ji, this session will be highly incomplete unless we visit your corporate life, the corporate career, and of course, your fantastic music endeavor called the Gunitas Sammelan that you have been hosting and holding for 42 years in Mumbai. It's an outstanding music festival of 3 days, top artists performing there to an absolute sold out theater. And people really look up to it to find some outstanding music, extraordinary musical experiences. And you have been the whole and soul behind it, not for a short time, but over 4 decades. Pandit Satish Vyas, with a bachelor's in mathematics and a double master's in statistics and business, was fast rising the Indian corporate ladder in the 70s while pursuing serious Santoor. He also served at Mumbai's distinguished NCPA, the National Centre for the Performing Arts. With the early morning hours of Riyaz and evenings with a guru, not mentioning the long commutes in Mumbai, it is noteworthy how a person with a sense of commitment, priorities, mental organization, and time management can excel in two demanding fields simultaneously, while being an exemplary family man in the roles of a son, brother, husband, and father. Sanskar and Parampara, culture and tradition, defining the best of India, are personified in Satish Vyas in his manner of respecting his father and guru, and Pandit ShivKumar Sharma, his second guru. And there is more to his persona. His corporate exposure, world travel for concerts, and deep association with the music world allowed great networking skills and a sense of practicality in him. As an artist par excellence, he is also the organizer of one of the biggest and most successful classical music festivals of India, the Gunidas Sangeet Sammelan, in the memory of his late father, featuring stalwarts and upcoming artists in music and dance. Vyas is respected by connoisseurs, artists, and critics for his substance and versatility. Gunidas Sammelan started in Mumbai and now expands into the Indian metros of Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, and many second-tier towns featuring classical music and dance. Indian audiences look to him as Masiha of music, owing to his huge single-handed contribution to the society. In turn, a galaxy of artists, friends, and family light up his life with their immense goodwill and support.
In my life, things happened parallelly. Lot of things were happening. As I mentioned earlier, when my father said that you should become a graduate, then I did not only finish my graduation, I did my post-graduation, I did my management studies. So with all that background, I got into, because we did not belong to a rich kind of family in the sense. So I didn't want it to be a liability. I won't say liability, but my parents never insisted. But I said it was a self-realization. See, nobody becomes performer overnight. It requires a lot of years practice, sadhana, and all that. So while I was learning, it happened simultaneously that I started going to Shivji, and at the same time I got an appointment. I got into corporate world. My father started this Gunidas Sammelan with one of the great, theatre personality, editor, journalist, multifaceted personality, Shree Vidyadhar Gokhale. He and my father floated one trust called Maharashtra Lalit Kala Nidhi. And in 77, he dedicated this festival to his guru, late Pandit Jagannath Bua Purohit, who has taught, you name the artist, but my father, Pandit Ram Marathe, Manik Verma, Jitendra Abhisheki, Prabhudev Sardar, even Kumar Gandharvachi learned from him for a couple of years maybe, and so many other big artists, and he was the greatest composer. I must say here very prominently that his one rag, he has created a lot of rags, but one rag which is Jog Kaus. Today, I know every musician on this earth plays that rag. Many of them may not know that the creator of Jog Kaus rag is Gunidas. His nickname was Gunidas for music. He did a lot of compositions under pen name Gunidas. So the creator, the Jokos was created by late Pandit Jagannath Gopuri. So my father, in fitting tribute to him, he named the festival as Gunidas Sangeet Sammelan. And in the very first year, in 1977, we had those days all the big artists like Bhimsen Doshiji, Mallikarjun Mansoor, Kishori Tai, Kumar Gandhar, Abdul Jafar Khan Saab, and so many others. Gangubhai Hangal, of course my father, and along with them we had some young artists also. I was not involved in the beginning, but I remember just a couple of months before the festival, my father one day was sitting with some stress on his mind. So I came back from office and I asked him, what is the problem? He said, no, we are doing the festival, but how do we raise the money? Because I don't mind confessing, in that 1977, there were 17 artists in 5 days festival, and the total expense was to be, in those days, was about 75,000. But those days, 75,000 was a big money. So I said, okay, don't worry, we'll think. So because of my management background, I started thinking what to do. So I conceived the idea of a brochure, like we call souvenir. So I took help of my friends and I got an appeal printed. And then since I was working in ICICI, where I tell you, all the corporate honkos, like chairman, managing director of the companies or finance director, they used to come because they used to come to negotiate the loans. And I knew that each company has a casual budget for this kind of social work and advertising. No pressure. But what I did, I distributed these forms to my colleagues in ICICI, and believe me, Anita, within 1 week, I collected whatever money was required for the festival. And then 13 years we did festival like that, because ticket sale does not pay for any expenses. That is very meager figure. So basically the finance was raised through souvenir and the brochures. But it was so nice that in 1988-89, I must acknowledge few names like Mr. Jerry Rao, who was the CEO of Citibank. He happened to attend the festival, and I don't know, he put his secretary on the job that get Satish Vyas to my office. So I went, and then he on the table across, he said, I underwrite your own festival. So from that year, we stopped bringing out brochure because it was completely sponsored by Citibank. And I am very happy to say that for 20 years, Citibank and Gunidas became inseparable part. Wow. So, and because of Citibank, I could expand Gunidas Sammelan to Delhi, Calcutta, Madras. By then, the expenses of Gunidas had gone considerably high, which was 75,000 and was running into lakhs, anywhere between 30 and 50 lakhs for the festival. Because artist fees and other expenses, publicity expense, it used to be big money. I thought then, Tata Capital was the company. So Mr. Praveen Kadle was the managing director. So I took his appointment. Because I had heard that he's interested in music and all that. I had never met him. So he gave me an appointment. I didn't know what is in for it. So I walked into his office. He got up from his chair, he greeted me and he said, what brings you here and all that. So I explained to him, this is what has happened and now Citibank is no longer there. So I'm looking for one single sponsor. I don't want to go to 10 sponsors and then put logos, and that becomes a very messy thing. You know what he said? He, without even looking at the figure, he said, I am with you, Satishji. You may not know, I am a great fan of Gunidas Sammelan. I have been hearing Gunidas right from my college days. And so it is like dream come true for me that I have become maybe as a Tata Capital person. So I am indebted to these two people who wholeheartedly supported me for many years, of Gunidas. And today we have finished 43rd year last year. And this year, if pandemic permits, then we will do 44th Gunidas Sangeet Sammelan. Wow. But of course, now it's not a single sponsor, but there are 2-3 people who contribute, and we are able to carry out festival in a beautiful manner. But when I look back, I must admit the success of the festival, number one, is all the legendary artists who participated. right from Pandit Ravi Shankar. My Guruji's contribution, that is Shivji's contribution, is humongous in Gunidas Sammelan. He was part of it in initial years. And you can name the artists right from Pandit Ravi Shankar, Ustad Allah Rakha Sahab, Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab, Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, like Bhimsen Joshi ji to was inseparable part, Kishori Tai, Gangu Behangal, Kumar Gandharv, my Guruji and Hariji were, of course, they were also inseparable part of Gunidas. Zakir Hussain, he has contributed so much that he never even, just on the phone call, Zakir bhai aapko bajana hai, ya to solo, ya to he would play with Shivji, Hariji, some kind of big artist. I have enjoyed such love and affection from these people that made Gunidas big, apart from these people who sponsored the event. Wow. So I have got fantastic memories, but for that, we will have to do an exclusive episode on Gunidas where I can narrate some amazing anecdotes of different artists, different experiences in Gunidas Sammelan.
I also want to know about your years or your time at the prestigious NCPA in Mumbai, the National Center for the Performing Arts, an outstanding monument for performing arts located in South Mumbai. Tell us about your work there and how did it happen and what were you trying to achieve or present to the audiences?
And I used to attend a lot of concerts. After finishing office hours, so I remember once, sometime in 1984, February or so, I had gone to a concert in Tata Theatre in NCPA. In the interval, I was sitting in the 5th row. When in the interval, I got up, suddenly I heard somebody calling me Satish. So I looked in the front, and can you believe? It was none other than one of the greatest, I would say, humorist, musician, theatre personality, cinema, all that, the great Pula Deshpande. He called me. He said, Satish. So I was taken aback. I said, he knew me as Pandit C.R. Vyas's son, but beyond that, I had never interacted with him very closely, but had met him in different concerts or like that. So he knew. So he called me and he said, there only in front of audience, he says, in Marathi, he said, Are, tu mala madad ka nahi karat. So I didn't get the point. No, first he said, yeah, I'm hearing a lot about you. So I casually said, is it good or bad? He said, no, of course good. Then he called me, he said, you come after 2 days to my office, because he was honorary director of National Center for the Performing Arts, which is NCPA, which is which is like one of the most prestigious institute. Like in America, you have Carnegie Center, and in London there is a South Bank Center. On that basis, these Tatas have built. So it is a Tata's organization. So without any thinking, I said, we used to call him Bhai. I said, Bhai, you have said your wish is my command. I will come, whatever you want to tell me. So I came and then I joined NCPA, and I tell you, those 1.5 to 2 years with Pula was a great learning experience. What a human being he is. I must tell you, when I left the job, my wife Rekha was a big supporter, because I had to share this that I'm not going to work. And she stood behind me like a rock actually, and she said, don't worry, you can. So I had told her that I'm leaving job, I'm giving 7 years to me. If I am able to establish me as a professional artist, it's okay. Otherwise, with my educational background, I can go back to the corporate world.
Satish ji, we all know the last 18 months of the pandemic have been disastrous to the whole world in more ways than one. And of course, to the artists and the entertainment industry and all the creative fields, theaters, stage productions, it has brought a very big and unparalleled lull and depression. But I found that this lull or this depression was extraordinarily beneficial in certain respects, because it brought us that continuity, that calm and the solitude that we otherwise do not find very easily in our life, full of travels and commitments and professional performances, professional commitments. So that has actually helped many artists to look within and to explore the inner space and perhaps to be more creative or to energize the creativity. What is your experience and how have you handled or looked at the virtual medium of performing or teaching?
Initially, people took some time to adjust to this work from home or like that. But coming to entertainment industry, a lot of people started hosting concerts, interviews, and all that. And not only that, I found that it became beneficial to a lot of younger artists. Because a lot of younger artists are very gadget friendly. I would not say people like us. I am little reluctant on gadgets and all that, but as a medium, it is definitely good because once it is done, it remains there and people can go on YouTube link and can see or watch as per their convenience, which is a great advantage, which does not happen in live concert where once it is happened, nobody else can see. But these virtual interviews or concerts which are taking place since last April, May to 2020, I think it is a great medium because people are able to share their, people are learning also. There's a big spurt in learning music, whether it is vocal, tabla, and all that on virtual medium. So I think virtual medium is today become very powerful and has become a very useful thing. So
Satish ji, I cannot thank you enough for your very, very valuable time that you shared with us in the studio, offering inputs, insights, and of course, sharing the divine music, and most of all, sharing the space. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank Anita, you personally, and of course, I must admit your board member, Dr. Mukund Karveji, who called me first. And I'm so happy to be part of this series which you are doing under Renu Foundation. And my greetings to all people who are watching this program, I would say. And I will make and wish that this pandemic gets over very soon and I come to US and see all of you personally and perform for you. Anita, thank you so much. You have been so kind. I feel very embarrassed to talk about self, that's why that is another reason why I refrain from talking. But I have done with utmost humility and with utmost modesty. Please take it in proper stride, I would say.